In the days when Israel was ruled by King Saul, the nation found itself facing a powerful enemy, the Philistines. Two armies stood opposite one another in the Valley of Elah, separated by a wide stretch of open land. Day after day, neither side moved. Fear hung in the air like a heavy fog. Then the Philistines sent out their champion. His name was Goliath of Gath. He was a giant of a man, towering above everyone who saw him. His armor was thick and heavy, made of bronze, and his spear was so large it looked more like a beam than a weapon. When he stepped forward, the ground seemed to tremble beneath him. Goliath shouted toward the army of Israel, mocking them. "Why do you come out to fight?" he roared. "Choose a man to face me. If he kills me, we will be your servants. But if I defeat him, you will serve us." Every morning and every evening, Goliath repeated his challenge. And every time the soldiers of Israel, even King Saul himself, were terrified. No one stepped forward. No one answered the call. Far away from the battlefield, a young shepherd named David was tending his father's sheep. David was the youngest of 8 sons, overlooked by many, but known by God. He had spent countless hours alone in the fields, protecting sheep from lions and bears, learning courage where no one was watching. David's father Jesse sent him to the battlefield with food for his older brothers. When David arrived, he heard shouting. He saw the armies standing still, and then he heard Goliath's voice. David watched as the giant mocked Israel, and worse, mocked the living God. David was stunned. "Who is this man," David asked, "that he should defy the armies of the living God?" The soldiers around him whispered in fear. They spoke of Goliath's size, his strength, and the reward King Saul had promised to anyone brave enough to defeat him. But David wasn't impressed. He didn't see a giant, he saw a challenge to God's honor. Word of David's questions reached King Saul, and David was brought before the king. Saul looked at him and saw only a boy. "You cannot fight this Philistine," Saul said. "You are young, and he has been a warrior since his youth." But David stood firm. He told Saul about the lions and bears he had killed while protecting his sheep. He explained that God had delivered him then, and God would deliver him now. Saul hesitated, but desperation left him little choice. He allowed David to fight. Saul dressed David in his own armor, placing a helmet on his head and a sword at his side. But the armor was heavy and unfamiliar. David tried to walk, but he could barely move. "I cannot go with these," David said. "I am not used to them." He removed the armor and laid it aside. Instead, David went down to a nearby stream. He bent down and picked up 5 smooth stones. He placed them into his shepherd's bag, took his sling in hand, and walked toward the giant. When Goliath saw David approaching, he laughed. "Am I a dog," Goliath sneered, "that you come at me with sticks?" He cursed David and threatened to kill him, promising to feed his body to the birds and beasts. David did not flinch. "You come against me with sword and spear," David said, "but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty. Today God will deliver you into my hands." As Goliath moved forward, David ran toward him. In one smooth motion, David reached into his bag, placed a stone in his sling, and swung it with precision. The stone flew through the air and struck Goliath in the forehead. The giant staggered and fell face first to the ground. The battlefield fell silent. David ran to Goliath, took the giant's own sword, and cut off his head. The Philistine army panicked and fled. Israel surged forward, victorious. A shepherd boy had defeated a giant, not by strength, but by faith. David's victory echoed far beyond the valley. It became a reminder for generations that God does not look at outward appearance. He looks at the heart, and that no giant, no matter how powerful, can stand against faith placed in the living God.